Alright, welcome back, Voodoo Dolls, to episode 2 of Let's Not Meet. Alright, so if you've seen episode 1, you already know what's up. If you haven't, long story short, this is where people tell their stories about creepy people that they've already met and would not like to meet again. Alright, so I'm going to read one long story, 2 medium stories, and then 2 short stories. Is the creepy man who stalked me after I said no. A few years ago, I started using this app called Romeo. I'm a gay man and I felt that meeting new people through dating apps would be an interesting thing to do. So I made my account and instantly people started texting me. Some were really cool and we are currently friends, and others were really fucking creepy. One man in particular was horrible. The first thing he texted me was, "Damn, I want to fuck you." I saw this and ignored it. Then a day later he says, "Why aren't you replying?" I ignored again, but this guy kept on fucking texting me, so I told him, "I'm clearly not interested," and I blocked him. A couple of days go by and I'm starting to actually like Romeo. Some guys I met were just absolute sweethearts. I noticed that someone had texted me. They said hi. They didn't have a profile picture, but being nice I said, "Hey, what's up?" They instantly started texting me and it wasn't even a minute. "You're cute." "Thanks," I said. "Want to hook up? I'll pay you for a blowjob." I just said no and they stopped talking to me. I thought that was good because I didn't want to talk. Fast forward to the next day and my phone gets millions of notifications from Instagram. I couldn't sleep, so I went on Instagram to see what was up. I was shocked to see a lot of my friends, who are straight males, were texting me. "Dude, what the fuck? I didn't need to see that. Ew, what the hell? I didn't need to see an old man's dick. Did you get hacked?" Someone had sent dick pics to all of my straight friends. I was shocked and told them that I was hacked. I knew that whoever hacked my Instagram knows my personal information, so I thought about deactivating it, but I decided not to. That day, I was at Target looking for paints when I noticed a man wearing a black scarf covering his face. I didn't think much of it until I got a glimpse of him. It was the guy from Romeo. I put the merchandise in a random place and walked the fuck out of there. I was going to have a panic attack in my car. 3 days later, I was at the mall with some friends and I was supposed to meet them there. I was just waiting on my phone and I looked in the distance and noticed that some guy was staring at me in the parking lot. When he noticed that I saw him, he ran off behind an SUV, if that wasn't creepy enough. Thankfully, my friends arrived. I couldn't stop thinking about the guy, and at this point, I knew he might be stalking me. I thought about telling my friends, but I didn't want to ruin our day, so I kept quiet. When I went back home, I made sure everything was locked. I couldn't sleep that night, and I had a knife with me just in case. The next day, I was at a boba place with my friend. He is straight, and we were really close our whole lives. He's a pretty fit dude, so lots of people chose to not mess with him. He's always stood up for me when someone was being homophobic. We sat down waiting for our boba, and we were on our phones when I had noticed something. There was a man in the left-hand corner of the shop. It was the guy. He was in the corner staring at us, touching his crotch. He had a fucking boner. I told my friend about this guy and he pretended to be my boyfriend. Eventually, we got our drink and my friend confronted him. "Are you stalking my friend?" He just looked at us confused. "I'm not his boyfriend, but I am his best friend. And he told me that he's been seeing you everywhere. Are you stalking him?" He's still staring at us and he has no idea what's going on. My friend told him to stand up really loud, and this got the attention of everyone in the store, and it turned quiet. "Stand up," my friend yelled. So he did, and you could see his boner. My friend was horrified, and the woman who was sitting in the front door took out her phone and started recording the whole thing. My friend then told an employee to call the police. The man begged for forgiveness and promised that he would leave me alone, but my friend wasn't having this. "I would punch you right now, but I'm not that type of person. You deserve jail time, you creep." I kind of wanted him in jail, but my heart told me to let him go, and it told an employee to not call 911, and she complied. My friend looked at me like I was crazy, and I told the guy, "If you ever try contacting me again, I'll let the police know. You better not do this with anyone else." He agreed and was let go. Everything was normal for a whole year. Last month, my friend told me to check the local news, and so I did. I found out the same guy that had stalked me had been arrested for hacking into a man's Instagram and was sending explicit photos and videos to all of his followers. I realized that somehow he probably hacked into my Instagram as well. I was shocked yet not surprised. At least now he's hopefully locked up and will never stalk anyone ever again. So creepy guy that hacked into my Instagram account and stalked me, let's never fucking meet again, ever. Dude hiding his age wants me, a 16-year-old female, to come over for a massage. This was years ago on an app that I don't use anymore. I was about 16 and I was quite naive. I hadn't really dated anyone in person at this point, and some background on the app. It changed a lot from when I first joined, catering more to dating. It was weird because you could be underage, like 13 I believe, and you could also set your age preferences on who was recommended to you and who could message you. I believe my settings were like 15 to 19. Anyways, I started talking to random guys, basically making friends, and even found my current spouse on there. Obviously, you get creeps on there and people looking for one-night stands, but I usually tried my best to ignore them. I also hated being rude to people straight off the bat. I was talking to a few people when all of a sudden some guy appeared older than me, started messaging me. I should have listened to my gut and never talked to him. He gives me nice compliments and starts a family conversation and all that. His profile was private, and the only photo of him was one up close to his glasses. He had some facial hair, but I thought it wasn't too uncommon for someone who was like 19 to 20. But he still looked too old to be talking to me, so I usually kept the conversations brief. Then he started asking me to come over and said that he's really good at giving massages. I kept declining his offers, obviously, and we talked about ourselves and asked questions. Since his age was hidden, I asked how old he was. He became a little defensive and saying stuff like, "You'll think I'm weird," etc. I kept pestering about it until he finally agreed. The dude told me he was 30. I was weirded out, of course, and soon we stopped talking and conversing and I removed him or something. I don't quite remember. I didn't think about reporting him, just moving on, I guess. Where I'm from, 16 is the age of consent, and I still thought it was inappropriate and predatory. Considering he most likely changed his age for the app to talk to young girls and had his settings to find people underage, I don't believe he asked for inappropriate photos or anything, but it was so long ago. Thank God my mom didn't let that doctor take pictures of me. When I was younger, we would go and stay at my aunt's house when my family visited my mom's hometown. They had a lab, and we only ever had a hypoallergenic dog, and I got a rash from it, and oddly, it spread down there, you know. My mom says it was because I was a kid and I probably wasn't washing my hands when going to the bathroom with whatever I was still allergic to on my hands. Dog hair, I guess, or dandruff. My mom took me to a dermatologist right when I got home because it had not gone away. Neither of my parents had used a dermatologist, so they asked friends for a recommendation. My mom is a doctor, so she did look into this guy before she took me to him, and he had a good reputation. When we had met with him, and I do remember parts of this, he checked over everything and said it wasn't too much to be worried about and gave me a steroid for it. He then asked my mom if he would be able to take pictures of the rash to document for research. Now, my mom, being a doctor, is pretty okay with using cases for research. I know this because I am used for a research study since I had a certain hip surgery at such a young age. But she felt like this was off. She said she really didn't think of him asking in a creepy way, but she said regardless, it was a rare case to be documented, she would never have let a doctor take pictures of her 4-year-old daughter's private parts. But she said that the biggest red flag was that he had said that it was a common thing and not to worry about it. My mom, being in medicine, knows this means that there's an extensive amount of research on it, and a picture of a common rash did not make sense. She forgot about it and obviously didn't take me back. She told her friends that had recommended him all about it, and we all kind of forgot about it. That was until we saw him on the news. He was arrested at the America-Canada border and was found in possession of more than 200 pictures and videos of child pornography. So thank you, Mom, for not always putting your trust in doctors, people we should put our trust in. The article we saw was on the news. Edit. I was just on the phone talking about this with my mom. She said he had an even more insane part to the story. He is practicing again in the same office. My mom had called multiple times, and every time the receptionist says that he's on vacation. WTF. How in the hell did the Board of Medicine give him his fucking license back? Yeah, that's like super freaking creepy. He was literally found guilty of having child pornography on his electronics, like about 200 videos and pictures of it, and they still took him back. Like, that is baffling to me. Don't let your middle school friend meet adults from the internet. When I was 11 or 12, my friend had many online friends. Most of them were in their older teens and adults, but it never really bothered her. I know how stupid it was, but I was too scared to ever say anything to her. One day she invited me and another friend to go to the park. It's only after we get to the park that she tells us that she's meeting an online friend from Germany. After a few more questions, she tells us that he's fucking 19 and that he came all the way to Arizona to meet her. We met the guy and hung out for a few hours, and I was absolutely terrified the entire time. He didn't know that she was bringing friends, and I'm scared of what would have happened to her if we weren't there. A few years later, she finally realized how dangerous and stupid it was, and she hadn't talked to him for years, and she doesn't have any online friends anymore. She's finally matured. So, strange 19-year-old from the internet, let's not meet again. Just freaking yikes, dude. Honestly, I'm glad that her friend were there, because I looked up some statistics specifically for this video after reading this story. In the United States, which is where she lives, because she lived in Arizona at the time. So, in the United States, at any given moment, there are about 90,000 people missing. And of that 90,000, about 33,000 are under the age of 18. So that's about 40% of the missing people that are juveniles. Which is, like, really, really crazy to think about, considering the fact that she could have been part of those numbers if, I mean, the girl's friend could have been a part of that 33,000 if she wasn't there. She and the other girl were there, I should say. Because, like, seriously, that is just, like, insane. But yeah, I'm super glad that her and her other friend were there with that one friend who was meeting strangers on the internet. That's like chances are the guy probably asked the friend to show up by herself, because she did say that the guy wasn't expecting for the girl's friend, the poster's friend, to bring other friends. So, yeah, if they weren't there, like, this, I honestly, like, 100% believe that this would have ended up as a missing persons case, or they would have found her, like, dead in a ditch or something. Dear Naked Man Who Asked for the Time. This happened about a year ago at the end of my first year in university, and they arranged a trip to this beach cliff place as a drawing day. I study the fine arts. Me and my friend walked over this cliff to go through the sandcastle garden, and things ended up on the beach on the other side of the cliff. We passed some of the tutors, so we knew we weren't too far away from where we had to meet the bus, and we decided to walk around the edge of this cliff to get to the beach we needed to meet the bus. And we were basically climbing these giant rocks. When we got halfway, we realized we had to start making a move as the tide was coming in and we'd be stranded. Some guy whose voice sounded exactly like our tutor said, "Hey girls, what's the time?" We look up expecting to see our tutor to be stood there, and there was a naked man on top of this cliff ledge, fully naked, hands on hips, naked. We look at each other wide-eyed and completely confused and baffled in what to say. He asked what the time was again, and so I told him, and there he watched us climb away. We had made it back to the beach just in time, as the tide had met our feet as we climbed down. We told our tutors about the naked man, and a bunch of the other students and tutors said they had seen him as well. So, naked man, I really do not wish to ever tell you the time again. Yeah, that's creepy, but like, I decided to end this with like a lighter story because those past few stories were just so insane. Like, especially the one with where the girl went to meet this guy in person. Like, yikes. Yeah, I felt like we needed to end this off on a note that wouldn't end up with a dead person. So, I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you for watching, and stay spooky. And if you care, I have some announcements to make. I might have to put my anti-vax videos on hiatus just because the research takes time, it takes time to record and to edit, and I'm in the middle of a couple of big projects for my college work, so it's just a big load for me right now. Anywho, thank you for sticking around. Give this video a like if you liked it. See you all in the next one. Stay spooky.